Hello, football fans in Hamilton from coast to coast and around the world. This is the fifth quarter show on YouTube. And oh my, do you believe in miracles? As I just stated or asked or exclaimed on X. I'm not sure where to start other than this team was down and out in the first half in what looked like what was going to be a massacre in BC, 16-0, and a scoreline that could have been much worse in the first half. But the Ticats somehow, some way, again, pull it out and win it 32-29 in overtime. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Bo Levi Mitchell over 300 yards again after a super slow start. Was picked off in the first half. A lot of fans calling for Taylor Powell to be inserted, but Bo Levi finishes 34 for 40, 309 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Greg Bell, who got hurt in the second half, 7 carries for 40 yards. Ante Milanovic-Litre, 6 carries, 15 yards, the biggest of which is 1-yard touchdown run to win the ball game. And from a receiving standpoint, Keandre Smith also with a huge touchdown in this game. 8 receptions, 92 receiving yards. Tim White, 7 for 74. Bell with 5 catches. Bridges with 4. Ticats outscored BC 8-7 in the third quarter and then 18-3 in the fourth. And then in overtime, get the touchdown after the defense went first and forced BC, or held BC, to a field goal. So again, welcome one and all to the fifth quarter show on YouTube. You can chime in on the chat. You can click on the link in the chat. You can send me an email, fifthquartershow@gmail.com, and I will read your comments on the show, voting for our player of the game. I should probably get right to that. For me, and it wasn't looking like this early on, I was thinking, who from BC am I going to pick? And ultimately, I got to go with Mitchell. I got to go with Bo Levi, who at one point completed, 16 or 17 passes in a row following his interception. And I think he dug down deep, and somehow, some way, this Ticats team dug down deep and got the win. It was a terrible first quarter. 3 2-and-outs. They were down 10-0. Jamal Peters got hurt. Bo Levi throws an interception. Sloppy tackling, really all night long, but especially in that first half. 16-0 after the first half. Ticats finally get on the board with a Greg Bell touchdown, and then BC's next drive was a 10-play, 91-yard touchdown drive. And I think most of Ticats Nation was thinking, okay, it's just not going to be our night. But Bo Levi to Keandre Smith, Bo Levi to Brendan O'Leary-Orange. Sean White ties it with a late field goal, and then we saw what happened in overtime. What a ball game that was. The question tonight now is, do you believe this Ticats team is destined to make the playoffs now? Because they are only 2 points back of the Toronto Argonauts. 2 points back of the Toronto Argonauts. With 3 games to go for Hamilton, Toronto has 4, including a big one tomorrow night as they host Montreal. Click on that link. Join me in the chat, just like Big Ticats fan is joining me once again. Big Ticats fan, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you doing tonight, brother?
I am good. Do you believe this team is making the playoffs?
I believe if we pull it off, I believe in this. I believe if we go to the playoffs, we're going to be the first Eastern team to cross over. And it's just interesting to watch because Winnipeg started out like crap, and now they are leading the West. And BC was looking like they were the team to be leading the West all year. And it's just been an interesting season. The only team that's been killing it the most is obviously the defending Grey Cup champions. But at the end of the day, the rest of the league behind them, it's been very interesting compared to other years where we always had like two teams at the bottom, if it's East or West or both East, both West, that are just garbage. This year, it's been interesting all around, but I believe we can cross over. I believe you got to believe.
You got it because Saskatchewan, Hamilton is 1 point back of Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's got a huge game tomorrow as well, and
Yep.
back at Toronto, and all they have to do is tie Toronto in the standings. Tie them in points. They have the tiebreaker. So yeah, it's right there in front of them. Big Ticats fan, who is your player of the game tonight?
Okay, so the last 2 weeks, it's been the offense for me. The whole offense, or sorry, not the offense, the whole team. Tonight, it goes to Chris Jones while he celebrates with that whole entire defense because they showed the stats tonight before he came in. We were the worst defense in the team in the league. And especially after tonight, we are number one defense in the league. And let's keep it going. Like keep the hope and faith alive and let's go. Like these guys have clicked and started when Mark Washington was in, you can tell they were getting sick of him. He came, he did good for us for a bit, but you can tell when it's time for people to their time is up, it's time to go. But as soon as Chris Jones came in, and that guy, look how he started. Okay, so when he started in the CFL, he was a defensive coordinator, and he was a damn good one. A damn good one. Goes to Edmonton. He took on more. He bit off more than he can chew. And then all of a sudden he gets a second chance out of nowhere after being fired and then getting hired as a defensive coordinator a defensive assistant, whatever. He's our defensive coordinator. He turned this defense around, and this is why I believe we have a fighting chance. So my game ball goes to Chris Jones and the Ticats defense because if they didn't win tonight, it was because the offense didn't perform. The offense came around proper when they did. It was a scary first half. I was like, oh no. But the defense kept us in it in that first half all the way to the end. So Chris Jones and the Tiger Cat defense, my game ball goes to you.
Excellent stuff. Big Ticats fan, thanks for staying up late with us. Enjoy the weekend.
You too. Cheers. Go Cats, go.
That is Big Ticats fan joining us here on the Fifth Quarter Show on YouTube. Has made it a habit of chiming in on the show, and we appreciate that he has done so. Let's go to Christian, who's joining us here on the Fifth Quarter Show on YouTube. Christian, hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. What do you think of tonight's ball game, and who's your player of the game?
My player of the game is Chris Jones as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I thought tonight's ball game was good. I was scared, obviously.
Yeah, that was a scary first half, wasn't it?
Yes. But we're good now.
Well, we're 1 point back of Saskatchewan, right? The Rough Riders have a monster of a game tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. They are hosting Ottawa. And if the Red Blacks can do us a solid, Hamilton will be 1 point back of the Rough Riders for the crossover spot. And Montreal visits Toronto. And if the Alouettes are victorious, Hamilton is 2 points back of that final playoff spot in the East. So it seems so unbelievable just a few short weeks ago. And all of a sudden, the race is on.
Yes. And answering your question from earlier in the show, I do believe that the Ticats are making playoffs.
All right, Christian, thanks for laying down the hammer with us and staying up late. Enjoy your weekend.
Yes, you too, Rick.
Thank you very much. That is Christian joining us here on the Fifth Quarter Show on YouTube. You can offer your thoughts on email, fifthquartershow@gmail.com. On X, use the hashtag Fifth Quarter. Let's get to X real quick before we go to the email and the chat. Corey says, got to listen to Rick first. His smooth voice will lower my heart rate. Andrew says, Philly special in the CFL goes crazy. Yeah, that 2-point convert was nice, right? Bo laterals to Shamar to Tim White. Tim throws it to a wide open Mitchell for the 2-pointer. Corey says that what a natural nail biter. Boveralls lives on. And this one is from Brad. Bo must have worn the Boveralls pregame. He did. I can confirm that. Clutch performance by the D and Bo Levi, player of the game, Bo Levi Mitchell. So a couple votes for Bo, 2 for Chris Jones. A couple more on X. Again, the handle is @Rick Zamperin. The hashtag is Fifth Quarter. That almost blind guy says the defense is getting back to the bend but don't break team we know and love. Hey, as long as they finally stop, which they did in overtime especially, I'll be in love with the defense. And Skittle says Glenn Suter continues to try to justify his version of an obvious jersey grab because he didn't even see it at first. Pulling on someone at the neck both pushes the player back and limits how much of a jump the receiver gets. It is interference. Command center got it right. I wholeheartedly agree. And I'm not trying to be a homer here, but listen, if you're grabbing an opposing player's, an offensive player's jersey while he is trying to attempt a reception, that is interference. That is defensive pass interference, right? If there's a crossing pattern and a receiver's jersey is being tugged on, they're going to call that every time. How is this any different? It's exactly the same. To the email we go. This one is from Randy. Good morning, Rick. Yeah, it is actually morning, 2 a.m. By the way, I probably should have planned this better, but for those who are not watching right now and weren't able to stay up or just fell asleep, especially in the first half as the Ticats were sleeping, we're doing a bonus edition of the fifth quarter at 8 a.m. Saturday morning. So 6 hours from now. Again, poorly planned by me. I should have made it 9 or maybe even noon, but we'll do it at 8. I'm going to set my alarm. If you're not watching right now, or if you are and you want to do it all over again at 8, I'll be live at 8 this morning. Randy says, good morning, Rick. I was fighting to stay awake for this one with anticipation. Yes, we are still alive. The first half went bad early. A series of miscues then ensued. O'Leary Orange made up for it late in the game. Bo Levi Mitchell was struggling in the first half. Too many overthrows, improved in the second half. It took forever for Hamilton to even get their initial first down. I don't think I've seen a scoreboard hit and the ball getting stuck before today. That was amusing. And it certainly was. So was the officials' response to it. We needed this win, and it was close, says Randy. My player of the game is Bo Levi Mitchell for the last minute go-ahead lead. Good to see Tyler Turnowski getting the ball also. Consideration to Nathan Rourke for field maneuverability. I like the trick play for the 2-point conversion by Mitchell. Too bad it was not for a TD. I hope the injuries to Greg Bell are not serious. We still need to win every game and maybe get some help from another team. Hamilton scored the late TD, leaving too much time on the clock. The defense gave away too much late in regulation time. Thankfully, overtime paid off. Have a good weekend, Rick. I look forward to the bonus fifth quarter show. Oski Wee Wee Randy in Oakville. Okay, let's not neglect the chat here because it is smoking hot. And I'm just going to scroll all the way to the top. Bear with me. Adam says, let's go Ticats. Pill says, big time win. Mr. Ukrainian says, Glenn Suter trying to debate that DPI. It was obvious. Tiger Cats. Pill says, Suter still going on it. He was really on it. A hand clearly gripping the chest pads of the receiver and holding on during the entire attempt. Glenn, shut up and accept the fact that it was a clear penalty. Harley says, wow, let's go Tiger Cats. Woo! Mr. Ukrainian says he's disappointing me right now. That was clear and obvious. MK says, less Glenn, more Paul LaPolice. I'm a huge fan of Paul LaPolice. He's doing a wonderful job in the studio and in the booth as well. Watson says, I figured we were done by the middle of the third quarter. What a spectacular comeback. MK says that was a sweet win. And Mr. Ukrainian also says, I was also worried come halftime. Only thing I was hanging on to was the fact that we were keeping Rourke and the Lions to that low point total. Yeah, as well or as poorly as the Ticats played in the first half. Nathan Rourke even said at the halftime too that they weren't really playing that well. And while they were playing okay, they left a lot of points on the field as well. And I think Hamilton's thankful of that. Watson also says, Bo Levi Mitchell for his player of the game. Mary Ann says, holy S, what a game. The last second games. Wow. Camps, Bo has his confidence back 100%. Watson's performance in the second half was on another planet. Mr. Ukrainian says, Bo is dialed in. Lucas says, what a comeback. And Watson says, by the way, Bo Levi Mitchell's performance in the second half was on another planet. Again, a second comment. D Money says, hopefully Hamilton fans can appreciate Bo Levi now. Well, even when the Ticats were struggling, there were some comments on social media that I saw that was, asking for Taylor Powell to get in, and Bo should not be considered as an MOP candidate. I think a game like this and a comeback like this kind of not really cements Bo's status as a most outstanding player candidate, but I think really amps it up to a certain level. And I think we talked about this in the last show, and this conversation is being had in a number of cities in the Canadian Football League. Is Bo Levi, should a player on a last place team win the most outstanding player award? This might not be a last place team, believe it or not. Like, there are games to go, and this team is now on a 4-game win streak. Like, who would have thought that a few weeks ago? Heidi on email. Again, the email is fifthquartershow@gmail.com. Heidi says, hello, Rick. I can't believe I'm still awake. LOL. Sent her email at, I'm not even sure what the title, 1:58 a.m. Second half adjustments actually worked. What an exciting fourth quarter. I'm starting to believe this team can make the playoffs. I'm impressed with the whole team effort to pull off this win. All the receivers stepped up, in particular Smith and White. Bo Levi is my player of the game. His veteran leadership is evident, getting stronger each game. So happy for this team. Go Ticats. If you're just joining us, Bo Levi Mitchell leading the player of the game voting, 34 of 40 tonight, 315 yards. That's just been updated, 315 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Keandre Smith with a monster game as well, 8 receptions, 92 yards, and a big touchdown. Brendan O'Leary-Orange with the other TD, and Ante Milanovic-Litre with a game-winning 1-yard run. After, rightfully so, defensive pass interference was called against BC. Laura on X, at Rick Zamperin is the handle. Off to bed, Rick, but player of the game without question is Bo. He's put this team on his back, and he's not going down without a fight. Special shout out to the magical Boveralls. There is something about the Boveralls that is pushing him and this team forward. Dave the IT guy on, I love the handle, Dave the IT guy on X. I got some flack for yelling after after 1:30 in the morning, but that win deserved it. Whoever's giving you flack, Dave the IT guy, tell him to shove it, unless it's your better half. That's probably not a good idea. Tiger Sammy says that is a team who battles, who claws their way back. Every aspect of the game came up huge. I'm so proud of this group. Even if we don't make the playoffs, we're battling and showing heart, and that's all we can ask for. Hashtag fifth quarter. And that's a good point, because earlier on in the game, and I'm not afraid to admit this, I went on social and I said, it's clear to me that this BC Lions team just wants this game more. They're more physical. They're more intense. They made more big plays. It just, they want it more. And the Ticats in the second half especially showed me that they wanted more. Christy on X says, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. And that almost blind guy says, well, holy yes. Who saw that coming after the first quarter? I'm speechless. And yes, that was PIs. He grabbed his shirt. And Jason says, what a comeback. That really sums it up well. It was an unbelievable comeback. 2 more on X, and then I'll go back to the chat. This one from Jim. My word, Rick, overtime in the BC 10:30 p.m. game. That's just wrong on so many levels. I'd also like to apologize to my neighbors who just heard me yelling at 1:45 a.m. Bo for player of the game. Hashtag Oski wee wee. I go to bed, but I probably won't sleep until sunup. I think I'm going to be in that same boat as well. Norm says Bo was incredible in the second half, but Ticats coaching staff made the right adjustments at halftime to give him the time he needed. And Joe says, holy yes, this team has no quit. Love it. Now we need some help. Yes. Hashtag Ticats, hashtag CFL. All right, back to the chat, which has been steaming hot. MK says, hope for an Ottawa win tomorrow. Adam says, hi, Rick. Oski wee wee. Catherine says, what a game. Pills, if Montreal wins later today, we got to be feeling pretty good about our chances. And let's just summarize what is happening today. We're into Saturday. It's 2:08 a.m. as we're live here on the Fifth Quarter Show on YouTube. Ticats 6-9 after a monumental 30-29 win in overtime in BC. 12 points on the season, 2 back of Toronto, 3 back of Saskatchewan, or pardon me, 1 back of Saskatchewan for the crossover spot. And this is how it's all going to shake down on Saturday. Ottawa in Saskatchewan. I think Ticats fans all cheering for the Red Blacks. Montreal in Toronto, Ticats fans certainly cheering for the Alouettes. If both Saskatchewan and Toronto lose this weekend, Ticats Nation is going to erupt because the race will definitely be on. 2 points and 1 point out of a playoff spot at this point of the season. Crazy. Crazy. The Gnarled Branch in the chat says the Red Eye edition. Oski Wee Wee. Rod, incredible. We win again. Not sure what's better, our win or the fact that I'm still up. Dave, the IT guy, says, I take back what I said earlier. May we can get another game in BC this year. Maybe we can get another game in BC. Well, as we know, the Grey Cup is going to be in BC this November. Nat in the chat says, amazing win. Team reminds me of the 1998 team. Katsantonis has some Hitchcock in him. Can you please comment on the pass interference call and Glenn Suter claiming it was not? Well, listen, Glenn is paid to give his opinion in these circumstances, and he thought it was not pass interference. I clearly thought, and Farhan Lalji, who's calling the game alongside Glenn for TSN, thought it was pass interference as well. How could it not be pass interference? It was clear for everyone to see that the BC Lions defender had clutched the collar of the Ticats player. We saw this earlier, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, where the same thing happened. Now, it didn't result in a penalty against the opposing team to benefit the Ticats, but in this case, the receiver for Hamilton goes up and is prevented from reaching the pinnacle of his jump because the BC Lions player is clutching at his jersey. It's clear to me that it should have been, and rightfully so, was a penalty. So, kudos for the command center. Finally, they don't always get it right, but they got that one right for sure. Green says, I love the emotion from the coach tonight, starting to show he's human and not an angry robot. David also says, hope Bell is okay. Yeah, if you missed Greg Bell going down, it looked like a right rib injury. Looked like it was extremely painful, the expression on his face. He was slow to get up. He left the field, did not come back. So let's hope that Greg Bell is okay. It was nice to see that, James Butler made the trip. Bell was a game time decision. Obviously, Bell was good to go. He had suffered an Achilles injury and missed the last game. But man, having Butler there on the sideline, making the road trip, going back to BC's old stomping grounds, if Bell can't go next week against Winnipeg, then Butler is going to be, I think, driven to say, all right, I got this. I got you guys. Rod says, love the Tabbies, the fifth quarter. And Rick, LOL, good show. Thank you, Rod. Green says, we believe the Ticats are going to the Grey Cup. Pill says, hopefully Shamar Bridges is okay. Now, Shamar did come back and made a big catch late in the fourth quarter. So it was nice to see him come back and contribute to this win. You can email the show, fifthquartershow@gmail.com. You can click on the link in the chat, and I've reposted it at least a couple of times. Click on that link, and you can talk to me on the show, or just offer your thoughts in the chat as we go back to X. At Rick Zamperin is the handle, #fifth quarter. Andy Houston 03 says the season doesn't start till Labor Day. Rick, my player of the game is Litre, the walk-off winner of this week. That's right. That's 2 weeks in a row that we've had walk-off winners. Mark Leggio last week with a big field goal in Toronto. This time around in overtime, Ante Milanovic Litre with the game-winning walk-off TD. Albert on X says, bad Bo started the game. Better Bo came to the third quarter. Best Bo showed in the fourth and OT, so Bo is player of the game. Yeah, that's kind of hard to argue because this team in the first half was not good. Not good at all. But at halftime, obviously they made some adjustments. They came back, and they came back in a big way. To the email we go, fifth quarter show, the number 5th, fifthquartershow@gmail.com. Lance says, now that was a tale of two halves. Yes, Lance, you are 100% right. He writes, great entertainment again, just like last week, and the Tiger Cats pulled out the victory in a building they typically struggle in. Also nice to get a revenge win over the Lions after they embarrassed us at home earlier this year. Hard not to give player of the game to Bo Levi. He really turned it up in the second half. Don't forget, we didn't get our first down until a few minutes into the second quarter. It was nice to see Peters back late in the game. What a win. Let's keep it going. The Western crossover dream is still alive. Keep up the great work, Rick. Love the show and love our diehard Steel City fans. Oski Wee Wee Lance in Stony Creek. Another vote for Bo, running away with player of the game vote. Steven in Penticton, BC on the email, fifthquartershow@gmail.com. Greetings, Rick. We win, baby. What a great win for our Cats out here in BC. Outstanding comeback after a slow start. With this win, the Cats can have a good shot at running the table on the remaining games. 4 in a row now. 3 more to go. Rick, I have to give the player of the game to Chris Jones. That's vote number 3 to Chris Jones. His defense held up the Lions from running away with this one till the Cats got the offense going. Let's start the weekend now on a high point. That is Stephen in Penticton. Stephen, thank you for the email. Back to the chat. And D-Money says, Bo is the player of the game. Camps says TSN priority are golf first. I'm not watching the post-game coverage, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. CD says, how about those Ticats? What a comeback. 29 of 30 from Bo in the second half. That's absolutely unbelievable. Like, absolutely unbelievable. 29 of 30. Ends the game 34 of 40. 315 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Randy says, overtime success. The Cats can fight and do it. Louis says, cardiac Cats strike again. Adam says, I'm looking forward to cheering on Jeremiah Masoli versus Saskatchewan. Mr. Ukrainian is back saying, fair respect to Chris Jones. He's turned around our D very quick. And that is no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Green says, holy Mackinac. Brad says, holy Mackinac. The beasts from the east do it again. Defense showed up big time and time again tonight. They looked like Ticat defense again. Bo Levi, 29 game-winning drives. My player of the game is Bo Levi. The Gnarled Branch need to hear the Ticat fight song. And the Gnarled Branch, I'm glad you made mention of that, because next year when we make the fifth quarter a little bit bigger and a little bit better, I think, in my opinion. It's good right now, right? We're doing our job. We're getting a fan reaction right after the game, live, getting calls on. Again, there's the link in the chat if you want to hop on board. But next year, yeah, I want to incorporate more of the stuff that you are most familiar with, and that will be one of them. Camp says Bo is player of the game. PKA Glenn Sitter comments at the end of the game was a joke. Very Mickey Mouse and wrong, by the way. Talk about embarrassing. The Gnarled Branch agrees with that 100%. MK says Tiger Cat action. Turn them loose. Richard says, Bo for MOP. Also my fifth quarter player of the game. Wow, we win it in the fifth quarter just for you, Rick. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it very much was the fifth quarter for sure. Jeremy says, when I heard Farhan was calling the game, I was skeptical he would be BC biased. He was not. Fair and unbiased call. Kudos. Farhan Lalji is a great journalist, number one, does an awesome job with the BC Lions coverage and CFL coverage overall. So he had a great call tonight. Adam says, kudos to the D for keeping the game close after the quick 10-0 start for BC on their first 2 possessions. Ari says, Bo is leading them and they have no quit in them. Turnowski was great in relief. Hope that Bridges is okay. How about player of the game? Keandre Smith made numerous great catches. Defense continues to improve. Let's mark down Keandre Smith for a player of the game vote. Keandre was great. 8 receptions, 92 yards, 1 TD, recovered nicely after that bad offside penalty that it had late in the game, but the Ticats still get into the end zone, tie it up, and come away with a 32-29 win in overtime. Back to the email, fifthquartershow@gmail.com, 5th, fifthquartershow@gmail.com. Hey, Rick, it's Alan from St. Catharines. Wow, what a game. I don't know what the coach told the team at the half, but we came to play in the second half. Player of the game for me is Bo Levi Mitchell. He is breaking all records in the CFL, and he's got something to prove for Hamilton fans. Do I believe? Not only do I believe, but I think we are in the race to a Cinderella year. Played bad, but we went 4 in a row, Rick. When was the last time we won 4 in a row? It's unheard of. I think we got to go back to 2019, to be honest, in the 15-3 season. Alan goes on to say, I believe and I see Bo changing or challenging Winnipeg in the West in the first ever Western final for the Eastern team. And Toronto somehow beats Montreal, and it's a Hamilton-Toronto Grey Cup. Has that ever happened before? That would be epic. It has happened. You have to go back to like the 19 teens to get a Hamilton-Toronto final. Alan also says, played bad in the first few games. But now we're 4 in a row. That's what I meant. Okay. Yeah, I think we got what you meant. They started out slow. Now they're white hot. And this Ticats team, again, 2 points back at Toronto, 1 back at Saskatchewan for the crossover spot. Email from Philly Filski, who says, well, that was one for the ages, eh? Hands up everyone who thought Hamilton would pull this one out after starting the game flatter than the plains of Regina. Simply put, the Lions left the Tiger Cats hanging around, and the visitors obliged. Now it gets very interesting. Hamilton, 2 points back of the Argos in the East. 2 points and 1 point back of BC and Saskatchewan, respectively, in the West. Crossover. Let the games begin. LOL. Philly Filski concludes his email by saying, speaking of Saskatchewan, I think it's time for former player and now TSN commentator Glenn Suter to retire. His whining of the PI call at the end was nauseating. I get it that he obviously still roots for his old team, but as a television sports personality, he needs to be impartial, which he is not. Great show. Take care. Philly Filski on the email. Whew. Okay, MK, we're winding down the chat here. Again, it's 2:20 a.m. live here on the Fifth Quarter Show on YouTube. Rick Zamperin hanging in after a 32-29 victory by the Tiger Cats over the BC Lions in overtime. Ante Milanovic-Litre with a 1-yard TD after a well-deserved defensive PI penalty was called against BC. MK says, best catch was made by the scoreboard. That was crazy. The BC punt goes not only hits the scoreboard, it stays up there. Who's going to get that? I'd hate that job. Aaron says, player of the game, Milanovic's challenge flag again. That had to be automatic. Had to be automatic. Brendan says, everyone give the stream a like for Rick. Thank you, Brendan. Yeah, give a like, give a subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss not only an episode of the Fifth Quarter Show, but also Sober Second Thoughts, which comes out every Tuesday afternoon, and then Picks, Props, and Predictions, which comes out every Thursday. Evil Doctor's Lair says, Bo Levi Mitchell really cemented his case as an MOP candidate with otherworldly second half. Bo is my player of the game. CD says Glenn Suter was behaving like an emotional nut job about the defensive pass interference. 21 from BC blatantly holding the jersey and pulling down. Glenn, stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. And TSN. Brendan says agreed. Farhan disagreed with him as well. CD, he was really doubling down on that nonsense. Bananas. CD again says, Bo is playing like young Bo from Calgary, and I'm all for it. Bo is definitely the player of the game. History Nerd 1814 makes his first appearance in the chat, says 4 straight wins. Let's go. Hamilton is on fire. I can't imagine how Winnipeg is thinking about coming into the donut box next week with a team doing so well. And the 13th man, I think Hamilton can do 5. Let's not forget, Winnipeg has won 7 in a row. They're playing some pretty good ball. And Zach Caleros just came off a game tonight in which he threw 6 touchdowns as Winnipeg absolutely destroyed the Edmonton Elks 55-27 tonight. So that's going to be a tough game. That is going to be a tough game. History Nerd 1814 also says, player of the game is Chris Jones. PKA says Bo overalls 4-0 now. I believe that is correct. I think he started on Labor Day. I think that's when the Boverall started. Bill says, kudos to the coaching staff for the halftime changes. To that point, the Cats were not playing well enough to win. My player of the game is Bo Levi Mitchell with supporting Oscars to O'Leary Orange and the Ticats coaches. CD says, I never thought I would say I'm a Chris Jones fan, but dang, it does. He had that defense playing like a championship caliber unit. Harley says, keep the fifth quarter drive alive. Go Cats go. Brendan, is 14 likes all we can do, guys? Come on. Brendan, hey, I appreciate it. However many likes we get, that is fine. Pill says, I'm just stoked that both remaining home games are going to be important now. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. We got Winnipeg and we got Calgary coming to town. 2 games that Man, at least one of them has got to be a must-win, if not both. Probably both, to be honest. Probably both. The Gnarled Branch says Bob Young has to make Boveralls available as merch. My buddy Paul had the idea. That is got to be in the Ticats shop. Get the Boveralls going. Get the logos on there. Get number 19 displayed on there as well. Adam says 108 people in the chat. Hit the like button if you haven't yet. Thank you, Adam. Pill says Bridges didn't play in OT, though, and worried he may re-aggravated something. That's very true. He did come back. I think he had the one catch, and I think he had another couple of plays. Didn't receive the ball, but was involved in the plays. But yeah, if the Ticats don't have Shamar Bridges next week, that's a big gap. Even though Tarnowski came in, made a couple of nice catches, was great, that's a big target to not have on the field. Harley says, all right, I keep hearing about Bo. Keep his name out of your mouth because he's the best quarterback in the CFL and he's doing his job and earning his paycheck. Scott says you can tell after the Lions went 10-0 that the Tabbies were going to go off on Bo, could connect with his receiving core. Fish Finder Live says, when was the last time we won an overtime? That's a great question. I'm going to have to do some research on that one. I don't have that one handy with me right now. CD says it's 1:16 a.m. here in Kansas, and I just screamed at Oski Wee Wee to wake up the entire neighborhood. If my neighbors don't know anything about the Ticats, they will know now. Well, CD, it's 2:25 Eastern time here in the Hammer. But thanks for joining the chat. Let's just check the email real quick. I don't think I got anything new. Nope. And X is rather silent, apart from a message from Dave, who says, what a win for the Ticats. 4th straight win. Everything seems to be going in the right direction at the right time. Massive game against the Bombers, who have also won 7 in a row. Player of the game, Bo. Hashtag 5th quarter. Bo running away with player of the game votes. And why not? 34 of 40, 315 yards, passing 2 TDs, 1 interception. Adam says Hamilton has played teams from Toronto in the Grey Cup before, but never the Argos. History Nerd 1814 says, LOL, let's paint Kansas black and yellow for the Ticats. Well, maybe black and gold, but yeah, black and yellow will work too. Liam says, I was also wondering, couldn't find that stat on Google. This is about the OT. I'll find out the OT thing. We'll do it on the bonus edition of the 5th quarter coming up at 8 a.m. on Saturday in less than 6 hours from now. I know I'm a stooge. I should have scheduled it for later on in the morning. Watson says Suter is a rider/Western hack. Gordy says Bo, player of the year, endgame. Was very impressed with Brendan O'Leary Orange's game. Was very excited for the signing. Took a bit to get back from the injury in week 1. Could be an X factor in the playoffs. And that is very true. He's a big target. Runs his routes effectively. Usually catches the ball. Good player. Thomas says Tabby's on fire. Oski Wee Wee, go Bo. Player of the game. The vote for Bo Levi Mitchell. Brad says Stamps fan here. Yeah, I know, but that wasn't PI. Regardless, great win for the Cats and a showcase for the CFL. Good luck, Cats, as we're done, and I'll cheer for you. So more controversy on the DPI. Scott says unsung heroes. The linemen, offensive line defended well given the mostly absent of a running game, and front four put pressure on Rourke and didn't give him opportunities to scramble. There were so many times though that Nathan Rourke scrambled out of the pocket and 1, 2, 3, 4 Ticats were going to get him and he got away. Usually with an incomplete pass or a throw downfield, but it was so frustrating that they were oh so close to get him so many times. Watson says, Rick, basically the Cats have to win out now to ensure a playoff spot, even the crossover. And while that is probably true, it's not mathematically true. So until it gets to that mathematical standpoint, I'm just going to say, hey, listen, they're 2 points back at Toronto, 1 at Saskatchewan, and anything is possible, as we saw tonight. Jake says, can we talk about the amount of Canadian talent that came in clutch to win this game? Well, you can mark down a lot of guys in the offensive line, O'Leary Orange, Keandre Smith, a lot of the guys on defense, Legio. I mean, total team effort in terms of getting this team to come back after a brutal first half and then winning it in overtime. Evil Doctor's Lair says, I bet we see a lot of Ticats fans wearing overalls at the next game. I can almost guarantee that. I'm kind of surprised that it didn't happen on Labor Day, but I get it. Cole Zoe says, let's go Ticats one game at a time. Bombers next. And Brad says, Rourke was running for his life. LOL. He was. And that BC offensive line isn't the greatest. As we saw tonight. Rourke was running for his life. Just some stats on the BC players. So Nathan Rourke was 22 of 36, 264 yards. William Stanback, strong game. I'm surprised they didn't give him the ball a lot more. 15 carries, 103 yards. Rourke ran 6 times for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. And from a receiving standpoint, Barry Hurd 6 for 37. Katoy 5 catches, 81 yards. McInnes 3 for 38. Varga was the top tackler for BC with 12, including a special teams tackle as well. For the Tiger Cats, Baker with 7 defensive tackles, followed by Richard Leonard with 5. Ticats had 23 first downs, BC with 22. Net offense, and remember that the Ticats had like 37 yards of net offense in the first half. It was brutal. They end up with 353, BC 382. And I always like to look at penalties and things like turnovers. Penalties, almost even. 6 penalties for 50 yards for Hamilton. BC at 8 for 87. 1 turnover in the ballgame. That was Bo Levi's interception in the first half. Just amounted to 3 points, so it didn't cost the team that much. 3 sacks for each team. Time of possession in favor of Hamilton. 30 minutes, 53 seconds to BC's 29:07. Wow, what a fifth quarter show that was. No more email, no more social media posts. The chat has quieted down, and that means at 2:30 a.m. live here in the fifth quarter show, I think we'll wrap it up here. Bonus edition coming Saturday morning at 8. And again, I should have made it for later, but who knows? Pills with the last comment says, hey, Rick, how has Cam Dantzler looked in practice? I went on Monday. I didn't go to any of the practices following Monday, so I can't report on how many practices he was in and how he looked, but I'm sure we'll see him next week for sure. Dave, the IT guy, says, bedtime, Rick. It absolutely is. I'm going to set my alarm. I'll be back here at 8 o'clock Saturday morning, and we'll kind of surmise what we talked about here this evening. The chat will be back open. There'll be a new link to call in, grab some coffee, get some Z's, join me as we celebrate a 32-29 overtime win. Ticats get the job done. Adam says, thanks, Rick. Next up, the Blue Bombers with 7 straight wins. Gordy says, an Ottawa win over Sask and Montreal, win over Toronto. This Hamilton team, led by Boveralls himself, starts looking like a team of destiny. History Nerd 1814 says, see you at 8, and I will see you at 8 a.m. on Saturday. My name's Rick Zamperin. Thanks for tuning into the fifth quarter show. It airs after every Ticats game. Tuesdays is Sober Second Thoughts. Thursdays, Picks, Props, and Predictions. Hit subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Tell your friends. CD with the last word. Rick, so glad to be able to watch you again. I used to be a regular when you streamed on Facebook. CD, yeah, that was good times. We'll do it all over again. D-Money says, thanks, Rick. You are a legend. You guys are legends for joining me here on the fifth quarter. We'll see you at 8 here on the fifth quarter show on YouTube. Enjoy your sleep.